a man make mistakes? Is he eligible for redemption? Will it really hurt your spirit to make this one exception? If I did you wrong, am I wrong for doing you wrong? If we get back on and make a promise to get along, would you take me back? My bad, I'm back. Would you take me back? My bad, I'm back.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Good evening. The Big D Show, daily divorce news segment. A little different tonight. I normally do these during the daytime, but I figured I'd get in here and do something at night. And, I saw an article today, and I was like, I couldn't resist. I had to do a show on it, do a video. So we're going to jump right in here and get started. I'm going to jump out of here, see what the girl and the kids is doing, and think they're going to go home today. Who knows? They plans change daily. So kids about to start back to school, so it's about time for them to get back up their way and do their thing. Well, let's jump in here and start with this first article here. This one is from the divorce Reddit. It is, I don't know, whatever, 2345. Says, finally slept with somebody else. Oh, I think some of us have had that experience in our lifetime, where it's like you've been in a long-term relationship with somebody, and then, you kind of get out of that relationship, and then you got to make that decision. And sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it's kind of a hard decision to make, and you don't feel right about it. But let's see what this one says about it. She says, my soon-to-be ex-husband has been the only person I've been with, both relationship and sexually with, since 19 years old. We're in the divorce process. I'm 30 now. Had a couple of drinks and made a stupid decision. Well, it wasn't stupid in the sense that I know I've not done anything wrong and it's all fine, no big deal, but I feel like I've cheated even though I haven't, and I don't like myself for it. Back to my therapist I go. When the soon-to-be ex dropped the kids back home, I couldn't look at him in the face, and I cried myself to sleep. Lovely. The divorce grieving process and its many twists and turns, I guess. So she, I get it in this instance here because she kind of got roped in young into that relationship, and they don't say how long they was married or whatever, but she's been in the relationship since she was 19 years old. So doesn't really say what her history might have been before 19 or whatever. We know a lot of people start a little early, on their sexual adventure and their sexual journey. But it looks like, she probably maybe was used to him. She's 30 years old now. So that's 11 years of like being with the same person, and then going through that whole transition period where you're coming out of your teens. Maybe normally at that age, you're pretty much going to college. A lot of people are sexually free during that time. They experiment a lot. During that time, they may have, some more experiences, but it seemed like she didn't quite get that. And so this is something maybe you guys can talk about, just being young, or maybe you might be an older dude or older woman or whatever that kind of got with a young guy or a young girl. And, maybe it works, maybe it don't. You're kind of rolling the dice if you do that because they haven't had that time to kind of get out there and really experiment. And now with the advent of the internet, and you can see so much now, it's being put in front of their face all the time. And so they may eventually snap out of the fact that, hey, I'm married or whatever, but they might start feeling like they got into the relationship too early and they didn't get to have the experiences that they wanted to have. So they don't really say why. She's not really saying why they getting divorced or, what happened to them to end up in a situation where they're divorced, but, or whether he's really older than her. Now, we don't know really the dynamic. She didn't give it to us all, but, give it all to us. But at the same time, she's letting us know that she was very young. So I kind of feel like she kind of wanted probably to have a different sexual experience. She's never been with another dude. It's probably something that's been on her mind at some level. May not be at the top of her list, but it was somewhere back there. You don't just jump out the relationship and just be with somebody, for no reason, right? I feel like you kind of have to think about it, and you kind of like mull that over in your mind a little bit. Maybe it was a fantasy that was back there and now it has manifested. That's kind of what happened. So, one thing I do see is that she did say that she had a couple of drinks and she made a stupid decision. Why she says it's a stupid decision, I don't know. Maybe it's because sounds like maybe it's a one night stand type thing. She's not going to be with this person. Maybe she just kind of met him at the bar or at the club or something, or, just happened to run into this person or whatever. And then she had let she let her quiet thoughts rule the day. Right. So, she's kind of vacillating back and forth, though. First, she says it was a stupid decision. Then right after that, she comes back and says it wasn't stupid that she felt like she did anything wrong. But I don't think that she feels like she was totally in the right here, because technically she is married still. She hasn't finished the divorce process, even though they may be separated or whatever at this point. Sounds like, she said the ex was dropping the kids back home. So that tells me that, they're not living together or whatever like that. So, so she's a little conflicted about it. She's going to see a therapist, or she was seeing a therapist, and now she's got to go back to a therapist about it. I feel like when you go to make those decisions, if you're going to make such a heavy decision, to go ahead and step out there and be sexually active, especially at this point in time or whatever, you got to be really sure that this is what you want to do. Because you got to have some planning that goes with that. You got to start planning on like, hey, how am I going to protect myself? How am I not going to get into a situation where with somebody I shouldn't be with, how far am I going to go with this? Am I really looking for some real relationship, or am I looking for like just flings or whatever, or just friendships or whatever? What am I really looking for? I don't think that you should jump out there and do it if you're not really sure with what you're doing. Especially now, especially with the way the diseases and all this kind of stuff is working. I feel like you need to have some planning and some careful thought put behind that. And I think that's the only thing I really recommend her is like, listen, catch up with yourself first and find out what you really, what you're really built for first. Get that in your mind, and then step out there and act accordingly. Don't just let your emotions rule the day, because you can end up in a really bad situation. There's people that, a lot of dudes don't really respect women, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. So he may not have respect for you or whatever. You're putting yourself in a situation where you hardly maybe know this dude or whatever, and he's just going to have his way or whatever. And if you get pregnant or something happens or whatever, or, he give you something or whatever, he's just going to disappear into the sunset and it's over. So all I can say is, like, if you're in this situation or whatever, you're finally kind of getting out there again or whatever after a long time being with one person, I feel like you got to really get in touch with yourself and find out what you're really capable of, because if you don't do that, you can end up in a bad spot, you end up in this place where you didn't really plan to be, and maybe that person didn't plan to be there either. And so now both of you are in a place where you just it's just not good for you. And we want sex to be healthy. We want it to be, organic, natural, something that you share with another person. But you got to be careful with how you do that, right? So, we can have fun, but we got to be careful how we do it as adults. 30 years old now, yeah, you missed, you might have missed the mid-20s or whatever, where a lot of people is out here ripping and running and just roaring. And, they get through that maybe, and, they reap the benefits of it, or however it comes out, whatever comes from it, they reap that. She missed all of that, so I get why she might be out there, but this might trigger something in you Even when she felt guilty, and she says she cried and she couldn't even look at her ex or whatever like that in the face or whatever, she's not processing that, too well. So it might trigger something else in her where now all of a sudden, even though it's the thing she doesn't emotionally feel like it's maybe the right thing to do or morally feel like it's the right thing to do, it might be something that she becomes addicted to. That can be the way too, because sometimes we're drawn to the things that are not good for us, right? It's like you think about drugs and things like that or whatever. Nobody wakes up and says, hey, I'm going to go be a drug addict, or I'm going to be a sex addict, or I'm going to be an alcoholic or whatever like that. Is just, as much as you don't maybe want to do it or might feel like, okay, maybe I might be going down the wrong path here, you might still be attracted to it just for the fact that it's something kind of forbidden, something that you're really not supposed to be doing. And but it might feel good in a certain way, and then you become addicted to it. So sex can be that same way. So I would just wish the young lady luck. Hopefully she can kind of figure that out and come out unscathed from it. That would be the best outcome. So we're gonna jump in here. We're gonna check this other one out. This is the story that I kind of found tonight that made me say, let me jump on here before I go home. I'm finna jump on here and do this. So from eFlow Libra 753 in the divorce Reddit says, suddenly everything is shit. January 20th. Picture me 8 months pregnant, glowing and happy. My husband and I communicating like normal, working on finishing everything at home to get ready for our baby boy due in the beginning of March. Husband texts me from work sounding like usual, calling me mama, asking me how I'm doing, telling me I carry my bump so well. Everything is good. Everything is normal. So excited to step into my role as a stay-at-home mom. And it's what my husband has always wanted. Me to be at home, not to have to work, and him to be the provider. We have a perfect house for raising a baby on a quiet street. All right, so it sounds like everything's good. At this point, it sounds like, he's engaged, and he's kind of happy about what's going on or whatever, reflecting on it or whatever. So, we're going to see what else is popping here. So she sounds like she's connected with it or whatever, and she's like kind of embracing the role that she's going to be in. Don't say how old they are or whatever. Don't really say yet, but maybe we'll find out. Who knows? The same week, starting the 21st, he and I have a long talks after he gets home from work. The first night it starts out, he thinks he lost his identity somewhere along the way. All he does is work and come home. Repeat. I'm like, yeah, I get that. I want to help. I want to help you find something you enjoy doing and gives you a sense of self. I thought we'd work on that together. The next night, it turns into actually, I'm just unhappy, he says, and not sure if anything can make me happy. I'm wondering if it's seasonal depression or just in a rut. Finally, on the third night, he says to me he's unhappy in the marriage and he doesn't think there's anything that could fix it. He said everything he has done over the last 3 years of marriage just feel like obligations and not anything he actually wanted to do. Says I'm shocked and confused because I could have swore we were doing really well and we were very happy as a couple. So I'm going to pause it right here because this is kind of a long one. We're going to go through it though because I think y'all going to have to see what's going on and just see how the mindset goes in this situation here. He pouring on the honey and the sweetness, telling her she looks great and she carrying her bump well and all that stuff or whatever. Sometimes you got to be aware of the red flags because all that sounds good and it looks good or whatever, but you got to be watching how a person moves. Don't watch what they say. Watch how they moving. I don't know, if there anything that she could have seen that, might have said something is off with this or whatever, but, she's pregnant. Maybe she's not paying attention to that. I'm sure she got a lot more on her mind than that. She's 8 months pregnant, so this baby's about to come. There's lots of things that got to be done. She probably is feeling like, yeah, I'm a stay-at-home mom now. I'm headed that direction. When the baby comes, I'll be staying at home. I'm giving him his dream and what he said that he wanted. And, now, it looks like he's kind of going through something and we got this baby coming or whatever, and we need him to be on point, right? We need him to have it together. I understand that from her perspective. Like, look, we need this thing to, we need you fully present. We need you working and ready, to get things done and to share getting these bottles for this baby and making sure the baby's fed and burped and comforted when it's crying, all that stuff. We need you fully engaged, right? But he seems like he's checking out. He's talking about, he's unhappy and he don't know if anything can make him happy and all this kind of stuff. And, he's, just been doing whatever. It's like the last 3 years of the marriage or whatever. He's just doing his obligations, right? And so sometimes a man will feel like he's unappreciated, right? He might feel like, maybe I'm going through all the motions or whatever. Nobody recognizes what I'm doing. Nobody recognizes the sacrifices I make. Nobody recognizes the stress that I have from my work and everything, and just keeping the bills together and keeping the house together and all that stuff. We feel unappreciated, right? So that's something where, maybe females and women can learn from, is like, you got to encourage a man. You got to be able to be there for him. Let him know that you happy with what he's providing for you. Let him know he's the king. Treat him well. Cook him meals or whatever. I'm not saying you got to do this every single day or whatever, but treat him special enough where he knows and he feels like, he's wanted and that he's appreciated. I feel like we kind of get neglected a lot. I know as a man, that's something that we do. We kind of get neglected a lot, and feel like we're just unappreciated, and it's hard when you putting in all the effort and the work and nobody seems to notice the work and effort, the effort that you're putting in. And it's like, after a while, it's like, yo, why am I doing this? Are they just taking advantage of me at this point in time? What is going on here? We start to think like that. So as a woman, I think the best thing you could do is kind of encourage him, so, but it seems like he's gone a little bit. My mind says there's somebody else in the picture because of the way he's talking. Kind of goes back to how he was pouring on the sweet nothings early on or whatever, having conversations with her or whatever, calling her from work and all that stuff. Just sound like he into something he ain't supposed to be into. That just what it sound like to me. That's the first thing I thought. I'm like, listen, man, I don't know. It don't sound right. And now we getting into the conversations and you see how he eased into it. Took him 3 nights to have conversation with her to really tell her what's going on. So let's see what was really going on here. I'm gonna pick up here. It says, I'm shocked and confused because I could have swore we were doing really well and we were very happy as a couple. January 25th, Saturday. This is the day my husband actually says to me he wants a divorce. Not willing to consider couples therapy or a trial separation or anything. His mind is made up. He doesn't want to be with me anymore. So, because he hasn't been happy this whole time. Well, why you ain't tell her that you wasn't happy the whole time? I don't really necessarily believe that, I believe he's going into that now and, maybe he wasn't feeling as appreciated, whatever. I get that or whatever, but I feel like somebody else has entered the picture because now, why is it now all of a sudden he's acting out on this? It don't feel right to me. Like, I feel like he's saying all this now and he's being very open about it, being very blunt about it, not wanting any help, not wanting to change or whatever, because he's got a little bit of booty on the side that's making his mind feel like he's making the right decision. That's just the bottom line. He got somebody on the side. He got somebody. So she says, words can't describe how it felt. Everything was falling in around me. You don't love me. Don't want to be with me. I'm 8 months freaking pregnant. What do I do now? She's 8 months, bro. This is kind of a wrong time to be deciding this. He doesn't even want anything to do with me all of a sudden. So a couple weeks ago, she was carrying the bump well, and he was all in love with her or whatever like that. Now all of a sudden, he's not. He stays to himself in the basement and avoids me like the plague. When I go to ask more questions and clarify things, because obviously I'm still shocked, he becomes mad and defensive, telling me there's nothing I can say to change his mind. I say, okay, fine, but please help me understand. I would just, my advice to her Leave him alone. If he's at this point and he's kind of expressing himself that way, you don't want this to escalate into something bad. That's the big thing. I think safety is number one here. He doesn't sound like he's really in his right mind about it. If he's being hostile, he's being aggressive in a certain way. I feel like you got to kind of recognize that being 8 months pregnant, you might want to step back. Even though you don't understand, protect your life and protect the life of your child. You may not think that he's capable of doing something crazy, but we've seen it happen. So don't fall into the trap of thinking like it can't happen to you. If he wants to be left alone, you leave him alone. If he's getting away from you and he's going in the basement and that's where he's spending his time, let him be down there or whatever. I know it's going to kill you. I know it's going to be, I know it's going to be on your mind the whole time or whatever. And you're going to be wondering what he's doing or whatever. Your curiosity is going to be there. But the number one thing you want to do is be safe. Don't go looking for something and find something that you don't want. I think that's the one thing that I would say situation. Especially if he's becoming angry and defensive or whatever. I feel like he's already kind of messed with the chick or whatever. He's already did his thing or whatever. So that's why he don't want to be around you. He might be embarrassed that he did it. He might be grappling with the fact that he's got to tell you that. So he's going to be like a cornered animal at this point in time. You don't want to catch him in the corner and then he fight his way out. So she says, the next night I try talking to him again and he erupts with anger. I'm saying, says, I never listen and I never understand him. And this decision is the only thing he's ever done for himself. So we're starting to get into a lot of absolutes, right? These big absolutes of never and it's the only thing ever and all this stuff. And you can't really believe that. You can't really internalize that because he's trying to justify whatever he's into. That's what happens when people start to justify. They don't really want to take accountability. They probably don't even really believe within themselves that they were capable of doing what they have done. But it's obvious. It's written all over the situation. He's doing something that he ain't got no business doing. He's already done it. And now he's just acting out because, he realizes that he's at fault. So, says I asked to look through his phone, specifically text messages. He's not gonna let you look through his phone, girl. What is you doing? I get it, you're curious and you want to know, but you gotta back off that curiosity. Read between the lines and just, use your intuition because you know what's happening. So he already knows who I'm concerned about. A girl from work who he said I never had to worry about. So since you know this already, what you got to see the text messages for? You already know what it's hitting for. You already know what it's hitting for. It ain't hitting on nothing good. You already know. So he says no. I can't look through his phone. There are messages that when taken out of context will only hurt my feelings. Right? You just told her right there. You already told her what it is right there. He said he's talked with her and shared his feelings with her and been vulnerable. So at this point, he's only talking. This dude is the slowest, revealer of information ever. Why you don't just be a man and just say what you did, man? Come on now. So why are you stringing out day after day after day? Your wife is pregnant, 8 months pregnant or whatever. She don't need this stress. Tell her what's up. Next day, he applies for an apartment in the next town over where he works. So now he need to live somewhere else. He getting an apartment over there and gonna leave her, 8 months pregnant. Crazy. After he told her to be a stay-at-home mom, it's wild work. Says he'll be moving out of our house once he can get into the apartment. He's out by Wednesday the 29th. So he told her the 25th? And he already getting an apartment and gonna be out by the 29th? 4 days? Oh man. He comes to the house and gets more clothes on Monday the 3rd. Of course, I ask him about her because it's been weighing on my mind. Just straightforward, I asked, are you sleeping with her? He says, yes, he has. We all knew that, right? Y'all ain't know? I knew. Because I'm like, yeah, the way he acting, he done hit. I asked when. He says this past Friday, the 31st of January. 6 days, right? 6 days since he first said the word divorce to me, and he's already effing this girl. I don't know if it only been 6 days. It sounds like he already been working already. Something already went down with them already. Something went down enough for him to know that he could if he wanted to. So, and he kept going around her. So I say to him, you do understand we are still married, right? Of course he understands. He knows that's why he's acting the way he's acting. This is why he's getting out. So he says, no, we're separated and we're getting divorced. 6 days? Come on, man. You understand why she asking you this question. It's only 6 days, man. You got, your child is 8 months in the belly. You know what I'm saying? Like, so 6 days is not a long time. Come on, man. So he's acting like this has been a long time or whatever. Like, oh, we separated and divorced, or we getting divorced or whatever. I can see like 6 months, even maybe 3 months, 4 months, especially if it's not a good relationship or something like that or whatever. They having issues or whatever. I could see that. But 6 days? Come on, man. Don't act so matter of fact with her, because you are married to her. There's still that opportunity that suppose the other chick is like, yo, I ain't messing with you no more or whatever. Like, that could happen within 2 weeks. Like, oh, I know you left your wife and you moved out or whatever, but I wasn't feeling you like that. You just a munch. And then what you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Like, she could break you off like that. And now you gotta go back to your wife. So why you jumping out there, moving and all that kind of stuff within 6 days? Hit it or whatever like that. And now you that sprung over it? Like, come on, man. Left your wife with eight months pregnant behind her. You don't even know that girl gonna be around. You know what I'm saying? You probably don't even know her middle name yet. Come on, man. And you leaving your family for this? That's crazy. Says, I can't believe what I'm seeing and hearing, because this man is talking to me as if he's done nothing wrong. It's okay to go ahead and sleep with this other woman because he already asked for a divorce from his wife, right? So that's crazy. And his pregnant wife, she says, or whatever. She says, there's not even any paperwork started on our divorce yet. He still hasn't even met with an attorney. So, I think he's kind of, justifying within himself what he was doing. So let's play devil's advocate to say he didn't sleep with her till 6 days ago. But he knew what he was going to do. He already knew what he was going to do. He already know he's going to hit. So we ran into a little technical difficulty there. So computer shut down on me. So we was almost at the end anyway. So we're going to end it pretty quickly right here. So I just wanted to come in and finish this out here. So my man don't have no paperwork. He ain't got no attorney yet or nothing like that for the divorce or whatever. So we ain't gonna believe that they even getting divorced yet. He don't know if this other chick is gonna stay with him or not, or what what's gonna go on with that. It might be something that lasts 6 months. It might be somewhere they not compatible, and maybe he thinks that the world of this chick, and this chick, may turn out to be something he didn't think she was. So I think he's really crazy for jumping out there and getting with this chick when you got a wife at home that's been with you or whatever, and she's got, your child. I mean, if you're having problems in your marriage and you're not happy in your marriage and you feel like everything that you're doing, you just going and coming back or whatever, going to work, coming back, ain't nothing, jumping there. You've been doing this for like 3 years. You ain't been feeling good and you're talking all that. Why you get her pregnant? Like, why would you bring a child into that when you know that it could possibly end? That don't make no sense. You can't just jump out there and get her pregnant and then leave her with the baby at 8 months, right before she's supposed to have the baby. You jump out. Yeah, like what kind of man is you? Like, come on, man. We don't, Big D channel. That's not something we condone. I get it. People go through things. Your mind can tell you things. It can make you do things that you didn't think that you was gonna do, but we're here to make us think a little bit stronger, be a little bit stronger mentally, a little bit stronger emotionally, be able to decipher situations. If you finna jump out there and cheat or do whatever, you got to be able to handle the consequences. It don't sound like he's able to really deal with it in an adult way. He's dealing with it like he's 17 or something and running from a chick that he got pregnant or whatever. Like, you're a grown man now. You gotta handle things grown man level. You know what I'm saying? So got a baby on the way. So she says, listen, I just hate him so much right now, and I'm giving birth to his baby in 30 days. It's wild work, right? It's like now she's going to have this child. What what if she starts to take out her anger on the child? Does the child deserve that? Not saying that she would, but sometimes that happens. Sometimes they looking at the child and they feel like it reminds them of the father, who now she has reason to hate, and she don't even like the child. That could result in something so terrible, or she might treat the child terribly throughout his whole life because of you jumping out there doing something crazy. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be mindful of this. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be mindful of how your actions might affect something else. I'm not saying you stay with a person just because you have a child or whatever like that, but over some random work booty, bro, a work wife, this is not gonna work. You're probably not even supposed to be even commiserating with somebody that you work with like that. Why would you listen, we always say what? Don't shit where you eat at. So this is where you getting your paycheck from, but now you messing with a chick on the job, and if it don't work out, now you're gonna have a problem, right? How you gonna be able to go to work and be around this person or whatever? She working in the same building with you or whatever, y'all working together and stuff like that, and now y'all have a problem with each other. You done went from having a problem when you go home to having a problem when you go to work. And this dude ain't thinking, man. He ain't thinking that could go bad. And then she could turn around and be like, oh, he was sexually harassed me. He forced me to do this. He told me to do that. And if I ain't do it, then, this was going to happen or he's going to retaliate. So, she could just make up a whole story and then you finish. Now you done lost your wife, you done lost your kid, and you losing your job and your reputation over some work booty, bro. I don't know. You got to think with the big head sometimes. Man, this the Big D show, but the Big D ain't the one that's always supposed to think. He's supposed to think with the other head. You know what I'm saying? So, so she's like, she hates him. I get it. He says, we never could have guessed he could be this cruel and also stupid. He's probably sleeping at her house tonight while I'm in our bed crying, in our home, crying myself to sleep. I get it. I get where she's coming from. And, it's a bad thing. So I'm going to get out of here because, we don't need no more technical difficulties or whatever. But I strive to get these shows done for you. Y'all tell me what y'all think about that situation right there. How you feel like, you would handle that. Or, if you had a situation where you was tempted with a woman at your job, like, what would you do? Like, how would you handle it? How would you get around it or whatever? Like, would you leave your wife that's 8 months pregnant? What kind of situation would you be in? You know what I'm saying? So once again, this is the Big D. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and bearing with me here tonight. I just had to do this particular show because I thought it was pretty interesting. And I figured like we get some commentary from it. So once again, it's the Big D show. And peace.
Can a man make mistakes? Is he eligible for redemption? Will it really hurt your spirit to make this one exception? If I did you wrong, am I wrong for doing you wrong? If we get back on and make a promise to get along, would you take me back? My bad, I'm back. Would you take me back? My bad, I'm back.